Welcome to another episode of Unapologetic. Let's start. Kiah, I'm Will Poznan. I'm joined by Kiah Stokes.
Hey.
and let's start with your brother is the assistant coach at Richmond. It's March Madness. It had a high-profile first-round upset. What can you tell me about experiencing that through his connection?
It was actually pretty special. So, because of the time difference, they had an early game, which was fortunate for me. So I was able to actually watch it. But the Richmond Spiders got to play against the Iowa Hawkeyes, which, for those that don't know, I'm from Iowa. I didn't go to Iowa, but my brother did, my dad did, my mom did, my cousins went there. One of my cousins is currently going there. My aunt and uncle went there. So, my family is a big Hawkeye family. And then, I was just the one that went to UConn and kind of messed it up. But so, like I said, my brother, he was at Iowa for 4 years under their coach that they have now, Fran McCaffrey. And then he did his grad year at FDU. So once he stopped playing basketball, he ended up getting into coaching. And then this year was his first year as an assistant. Well, he's a video coordinator / assistant coach / player development, kind of a do-it-all kind of guy for Richmond. So when they won their conference tournament, they got to enter the tourney, which he was super excited about because they had kind of a subpar regular season. And then they had a really good run at the tournament. So they got to play. And then, when the selection standings came out, and he saw they got to play Iowa, he was like, yeah, it's Iowa, but damn, it's Iowa. So he was excited because, he knows the staff and he knows everything about them. So I don't really know how it happened, but, March is Madness. And when they beat them, when Richmond beat Iowa, it was super exciting. He was super hyped. All over Instagram, Twitter, he was super, super happy. He really likes he enjoys breaking up everyone's bracket because I don't think many people picked Richmond over Iowa. But
did you?
Honesty, I sure did.
Did you make a bracket?
So I did. So my dad, every year my dad does the NCAA Madness for the men's tournament, and then he does the women's sometimes. He always did it when I was in college, and then now sometimes not. But this year he didn't. So we filled out the men's bracket, and I haven't watched really many men's basketball games this year, so I had no idea what I was doing. But that one game I did pick Richmond over Iowa, kind of just wishing and willing, and I feel like because I picked them, they won. At least in my head, that's what happened. So super happy. And I will say that was the highlight for me for the first weekend because out of 37 people in my dad's group that made a bracket, I'm in 37th place. So I will say one victory. And leave it at, yeah, my dad texted me today and was like, how you dead last at everybody?
You're like, 37. Okay. Have you watched a college basketball game all year?
I mean, I watched a couple here and there. I would watch my brother's games when I was able to, but the time difference is awful. So I was kind of just randomly going. I picked Gonzaga to win, so they're still in it. I have a chance to move up in the rankings.
Yeah, I mean, you can't move down, so...
Yeah, it can only go up. So, hopefully next week it'll be a little bit better. But yeah, we'll see. I just want to get off last place because every year I make a bracket and every year I feel like I just get worse and worse. But I've never been dead last until this year. So I think this is my rock bottom.
What do you think's more likely? You finishing in the top half or the Lakers making the Western Conference Finals?
Oh.
And let's start there. Let's go from that. That's a nice transition from college basketball to the Lakers.
I think, oh man, I love my Lakers. Well, I love LeBron's team, but I will say I think I got a better chance at being in the top half because I didn't pick Kentucky to win. Gonzaga's still in, although two of my Final Four teams they lost. But, my winner that I picked is still in. So as long as they win, I think I'm automatically top half. I think. We got a baby. You all right?
Yeah, I'm good. I was just grabbing the person you heard in the background.
Yeah, I was like, we got a baby. Maybe she didn't like my answer.
No, I actually don't like your answer because I think that I'm optimistic about the Lakers. Since we last talked, 2 out of 3. Every game's a playoff game for them, and it's still like, I mean, what we talked about last time in the podcast that didn't make it. I just think that their whole scheme hinges on Anthony Davis, and if he's present defensively, like that's, to me, they're the third most likely team in the West to come out of the West. Like,
Really?
I'm not going to say that they're a favorite because I think the Suns are the favorite from the West, but I also think that the Nets are the favorite from the East. I mean, for me, looking at it, it's like if you have a friend who, when they get in relationships, they kind of they do a great job for the first few weeks, and then they start not caring at all, and then the relationship fizzles. Like, it's always good the first few weeks. Like, you know what that person is, and when they get into a new relationship, like after they've been doing that for a while, they'll be honest with you, like, yeah, it's early in the relationship, but this is not gonna last, And
yeah,
the
it's a honeymoon
Lakers,
phase.
yeah, exactly. You have your honeymoon phase friends, and the Lakers are the opposite of that. In that, well, they're honest with who they are. Like, the Lakers and Nets are both competing for the playoffs. Like, they're honest about what they are, who they are. They're in it for the playoffs. They have these guys at the core of their teams who we know can play way better in the playoffs, and we also know have an unbelievable workload on them. So I just think that both those guys have proven that they can rise to the occasion. I mean, the Nets win whenever Kevin Durant's on the court because he's that good, but we know he's going to get better in the playoffs. We know LeBron's going to get better in the playoffs. He's shown this season that he can. And the only difference I really see between this year's Lakers team and the LeBron Cavs team that he dragged to the finals the year that everybody was hurt is this Lakers team has Anthony Davis coming back. So I'm pretty optimistic. Yeah.
I mean, I would like to believe that, but at the end of the day, how many games has Anthony Davis played this season? Like, I don't know if he's the player that can just come in and turn it on,
But who do you have more faith
in?
But in terms of turning it on between him and Draymond? Because, look, if the Lakers aren't in the finals, I think it's more likely they're not in the finals because the Suns are an all-time great team than because LeBron was part of a team that fell apart in the first or second round.
I mean, well, I feel like Draymond's role is different than Anthony Davis's role. So I feel like, I think Draymond does a lot of intangible stuff. Like they say, he's an anchor on defense. He's always going to play hard. He's always going to talk his shit. He's going to, be that guy. And, they've been saying he's the staple of their defense. And if that's what he focuses on, I feel like he's done that all year, like when he's been healthy as well. I don't feel like it's something that he can necessarily turn on and off because no one's expecting him to – the hand distracted me. No one's expecting him to come out and score like 20-plus points a game. No one's expecting that. But when Anthony Davis comes back, they expect that from him. And I think that's a harder switch to turn on because Draymond's, like I said, his roles are more intangible. Like, it's not going to show up necessarily on the stat sheet every night. Versus if Anthony Davis doesn't have his stats, then it's kind of a problem. And people are going to expect that. So I think it's harder for him to flip the switch.
I hear you
and
on
that. I feel like AD, Draymond is like a dog. Like, he has just that toughness. Like, that's his persona. That's how he is on the court. AD doesn't have that. Like, he is more finesse. He is, like I said, about to just go get buckets. He does help on defense. But I just think it's different. So I don't know. I feel like
AD is also really clutch. Like, people always focus when they talk about like AD's personality and his brand and legacy and stuff. They focus on a lot of the negatives where they go, "Oh, he's a guy who always gets hurt," but he's also a guy who plays well hurt. Okay, thank you, baby. That's all. See you later. Bye-bye.
Bye, kid. No, just playing.
No, But yeah, AD's a guy who has come through in big moments. Like people act like he's never come through before, but he won a very contested game in that Nuggets series a few years ago. He beat the Blazers by himself. So I think that I sometimes feel like people go, oh, this guy can turn it on, this guy can't, just based on how old somebody is. And it's not based on whether they've actually turned it on before or not turned it on before, you know?
I mean, there's definitely some truth to that. Like, just I don't want to say problem, but I think my reasoning now is just he's been out for so long, and I think it's tough to come into like I don't want to say they're struggling, but like they've struggled. I mean, they're playing better now, but just to come into a team that's struggling and just to be that, I don't want to say savior, but I think that's kind of a tough spot to be put in, especially when we don't know how he's going to come back. If he's still going to be in pain or that kind of thing. Like injuries are kind of, maybe because I'm injured still currently, but I feel like injuries can definitely kind of mess up a person, or like maybe mentally, maybe not. So
I hear you on that. And I think that if he's not healthy, then they're not a competitor. And I don't even know if I would use the word contender for them, because I do think that Phoenix is a tier above everybody else. Like unless the Warriors are fully healthy, which I don't think will be the case, I think Phoenix is a full tier above everybody else in the West. Whereas I think the Nets are a contender.
So you still think that the Lakers got a better chance of coming out the West than me getting to that top half of the bracket? That's what you're saying?
I don't think you're getting. No, you caught me. I don't think you're getting to that top half. I actually, when you said you have Gonzaga, I'm like, okay, so Gonzaga is going to lose next round. Like, I mean, everybody.
They had a close call. Like I said, I didn't know. I didn't watch men's basketball this year. So I feel like, you know, the odds told me that was my best bet. So that's what I went with, and everything else was kind of random. I picked some upsets that just didn't happen, and then so you know, I picked one, Richmond and Iowa, and I'm sticking to that. Shout out to my brother.
Got it. You got it. You could see into the future with that one.
I had a feeling, and you know what else is crazy? Because it was 5-12, I just knew it was gonna happen. And then UConn played someone like New Mexico State, maybe.
Something. Yeah, they got beat.
Yeah, and I was gonna pick New Mexico or the other team, but I was like, nah, you can't do that. Like, you can't go against UConn, even though it was 5-12. But I was like, I feel like UConn about to lose, but I can't pick them, and I should have. But so yeah, that was one I had it right in my mind. I just couldn't put it on paper because I feel like you can't bet against your school. You can't do that.
You can do that. You can bet against your school. It's actually like, I mean, it'd be kind of real impressive to go against your school in an upset and they get upset. Even if you were at the bottom of the bracket, you could be like, yeah, but I wasn't really trying on those other ones.
Yeah, but then what if they would have won and they're like, so you really going against your school?
Who was you could just be like, oh, I read it wrong. I thought UConn, I thought it was Icon Academy.
Yeah, I thought it was ICDC College. Yeah. Like, I don't know.
So on the NBA side, I have faith in the Lakers. Not like the most faith I have in any team, because I got Phoenix, the Nets, the Bucks above them, but I don't have the Miami Heat above them. There's teams that have had great regular seasons, the Utah Jazz every year, that I have no faith in. So let's talk about the playoff teams that you don't. Who are the playoff teams for you where you go, oh, I don't think they're contenders?
The Sixers and the Celtics. I just don't see it.
Yeah.
I think it'd be easier to say who I think is a contender.
Okay, but with the Celtics,
like, go ahead.
Yeah. Go ahead. Well, the Celtics got this great winning streak that everybody is talking about everywhere. But I agree with you. I'm just like, yeah, but it's very much a regular season winning streak where you go, oh, they're being more disciplined and more fundamentally sound. And when it comes to the playoffs, like, these guys are going to have to hit these same shots, but with tons of pressure on them. And these are guys who I don't think are going to be able to keep that same presence of mind. Like, just your mindset changes and it becomes more difficult. So For you, why are the Celtics? Do you feel kind of the same way?
I mean, I feel kind of the same way. I don't know. All my opinions are based on like what I see on social media, so it's probably not really valid. Like I said, the time difference really be messing me up, man. I'm like 7 hours from the East Coast, 10 from the West Coast. Anyways. But I don't know. I don't think that they just have it together yet. Like I feel like they have amazing talent, and I think they can be good. I just don't see them pulling it together at the right time. It's like you're saying I did watch a game where Jason Tatum had like 50 something, and I was like, oh, that's really impressive. But like, how often is he gonna do that? Like, he's been playing great now, but is that gonna continue? And I just don't think they have it yet. Same with the Sixers. I mean, I feel like they in the honeymoon phase.
Yeah.
Like it was exciting when they got James Harden and he had a couple good first games, and then now I saw that he was like resting. I don't know if that was recent or not, but I don't know. I'm not really seeing it. Although Embiid is playing great, he is
for
up
me
there with LeBron for the scoring title. But I hope LeBron gets it, just for shits and giggles.
I think LeBron will, but for me, the Sixers and Celtics kind of have the opposite problems. Where for the Celtics, I think that for them to win playoff series, they're going to have balanced scoring, because I think that you can double team Tatum and force him to be more of a passer. Like I don't think he will get 50 in a playoff series against the Bucks where there's, where he's being guarded by Drew Holiday and then by Giannis at times. Like, I just don't think he's getting 50 in that series. So they'll need more scoring from the power forward and center position, both Williamses.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't think they'll be able to do that in a playoff series. And then with the Sixers, I think that for the Sixers to beat teams, they're going to need 40 points from Embiid every night and or 30-40 from Harden every night, because I think teams are going to force those guys to be the ones to do it. Not because those guys can't get a bucket whenever, but because other teams know those guys can't get a bucket every play. Those guys are both guys who tend to get tired under those giant workloads. So even though you would think, oh, double them, I think it's going to be the other way, where teams go, just make them work really hard and try to slow them down.
Yeah, or if anything, make them into volume shooters. I mean, James Harden, we all know he's going to have the ball in his hands a lot and shoot a lot. Kind of like the playoffs when we were in the bubble, where he was not making anything, that he was just going to keep shooting. And if he kept missing, that was kind of the downfall. But when he's on, that's a different story. But I don't know, like I said, how consistent he's going to be in a playoff series.
But then there's also the thing of, if he's going to be shooting, then other guys aren't going to have that same rhythm. I think that the Sixers are in a really difficult situation, because they have all of this talent. They have a crazy amount of talent. But because of the way the last few years have went, this feels like year 3 or 4 of an experiment. Like, it feels like they are where the Jazz are in terms of it's very much win now, but the team has been completely reshaped in the last few months, where weirdly the Nets got completely reshaped in that trade as well. But I feel like that everybody's with the Nets is giving them a 3-year window to figure it out. Also, because the Nets don't really have any options, whereas the Sixers, half their fan base probably wants them to flip James Harden already.
Yeah, probably. I mean, I feel like fans are always kind of, I've heard ruthless. I don't know. I've never played a professional game in Philadelphia, so it's hard to tell. But that's what I hear.
Yeah, a little bit of shade there.
Hey, I'm just saying, that's what I heard. I've never played. There's never been a
Philly
team like
top 3 cities that it's inexcusable that they don't have a WNBA team? Here's the one for me. I would go.
I don't think so.
What would you say? Boston, Miami.
I think Sacramento, Houston, like the programs that had like really good history. I feel like those should be kind of the first ones.
You got Sacramento up because of the Monarchs. You got them above.
Yeah, like
Detroit. See, to me, it's kind of the other way. They had the shock, the shock. But for me, it's the other way, where it's like the cities that they've never tried a team where they profess to love basketball in this huge way. And I would put Philly I really only put Boston above Philly, and then Miami. It's like, well, WNBA players would love if there were a team in Miami, but Miami, they're not even really basketball fans like that. They've just had some great players. But like people in Miami,
so they got the Heat. The Heat are good.
They like the Marlins and Dolphins more than the Heat, and those teams suck. Like it's a weird city. Like people love like baseball.
Miami, so
cool. No, for WNBA players, I think Miami and Oakland are the two cities where they're like have a team here. But in terms of
and Toronto, I want a team in Toronto.
Yeah, I agree with you there. Yeah. Toronto, it would be great out the gate. I mean, at this point, I think Canadians love anytime they can get a team in an American league because they just do all the things that we won't. It's kind of like with healthcare. They just go, oh, all the things that you guys hate about your healthcare, we'll fix those and then laugh at you from up here.
And then if they win a championship, I feel like they even talking more shit. Like when Toronto won, they're like, yeah, what's up? We beat you in an American league. What's up?
Yeah.
American players. It don't matter.
They hire people like the most famous people of the century to sing their national anthem for the finals games. They're breaking out like Drake and Avril Lavigne for a duet.
Okay. Ew, Avril Lavigne. Not you.
You don't like Avril Lavigne? Okay, well, this is interesting.
I haven't heard a song from her since I was in like middle school.
Yeah, but you didn't like her in middle school?
Not my cup of tea.
Who do you hate more, her or Jokic?
I don't hate anybody. I don't know why you have this idea that I hate Jokic. I just don't know him.
And you don't like Avril Lavigne either? I mean, I understand.
I don't know them. I don't care for her music.
Okay.
I mean, it's the same thing. Like, I'm sure the little Swifties gonna cover me, but like, I don't like Taylor Swift's music either. Doesn't mean I don't like her. I'm fine with that. But like, I don't like her music. So what? I don't like Avril Lavigne's music. I don't know her as a person. She's probably as cool as hell. She seems cooler. She seems cooler than Taylor Swift.
I agree with you about that. To me, the difference is like Avril Lavigne never got to that global level of like you have to love her. Like with Taylor Swift, there's like the thing of you have to love her. So I understand pushing back on that. But with Avril Lavigne, it's just like she's trapped in that era for us. So it's like, oh, it's just like a middle school thing.
Yeah, like is she even making more music? Like I don't even know anything about her.
All I know is she's Canadian.
This person who hasn't released a song in 12 years. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't even know what she's doing in life. But anyways, you go, girl.
So NBA non-contender. How do you feel about the Bucks? Are you one of the people that's like, what's so funny is the Bucks as a team are like, we're still hungry. We want to win again. And the fan base is like, don't put too much pressure on you guys. We're happy with what we got.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like they want to, they still want to win. I feel like as natural competitors, like once playoff time starts, I think you're going to see more of that. And I think once the fans see it, they're going to kind of want that as well. But I still think they're contenders. Giannis is incredible. It's just going to be a lot harder for them. I mean, to be honest, I probably said this before, but like they wouldn't have won that championship last year if Kevin Durant had smaller feet. Like the fact that his foot was on the line on that 3 to make it a 2, like just stuff like that, So I know they're happy with their one championship, but I feel like they still think that they have more to prove. At least what I think. I'm like, yo, y'all low key still got more to prove to me.
That's so funny.
Shoe size. I mean, who knows what would have happened? Like, who knows? But that's what I think.
I was about to be a huge hypocrite when they won because I was rooting for Chris Paul and the Suns, and I was gonna excuse all of the injuries that happened throughout the season if the Suns won. I was gonna go, no, they earned it. People get injured, whatever. And then the Bucks won, and immediately after I was sour. I was like, well, Kyrie was hurt, and Embiid and Simmons, and this and that, and I was so ready to do that, and then I was like, but I was gonna give it to the Suns. So it's not like the Bucks have more to prove. Yep.
No, but I will say that they did the thing in the finals because once they went down 0-2, I was like, ooh, looking a little rough. So even though get into the finals, put a little asterisk with the shoe. But once they actually got there and they turned it on, that's a team I think that they kind of turned it on because they was down 0-2 and in the comeback. Did they win four straight?
Yeah.
Yeah, like that's kind of incredible like, to do. So clearly, like they have the talent, like they have the will, like they're still gonna be a contender regardless.
So you think that they're gonna make noise this playoffs? I think if they don't, it'll just because I think that they're a team that can get to that level competitive wise, but they're not a team that can turn it on overnight. And I think if the wrong team catches them in the first round, if they kind of even last year they ramped it up, like they barely beat a hurt Bucks team or a hurt Nets team, but then the next round they were starting to dominate the Hawks, and then they hit a new level, and then they dominated them the rest of the series. Like in the beginning of the series, it was like one game they were kind of dominating them, and then the next game they were playing them close. And then by the Suns, same thing. But I think that the other thing that I'm excited about is that the Sixers are Embiid is the one guy who is excited to go at Giannis, and there's a couple of different matchups throughout the East. Like the Heat have a huge problem with the Bucks because they had the Bucks number and then they got humiliated by the Bucks last year. They had the close game one and then they got swept. So there's a couple of teams that if the Bucks catch them too early, I think they're going to play the Bucks at a finals level in round one. So I'll be curious to see. It's like in the league, the media has the Sixers number, but the actual NBA, they all want to be the team that kind of like shanks the Bucks.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like that's normal. Like, every team wants to be the team to beat the reigning champions. I mean, at least that's how I feel. Same thing in like college. As soon as the team that won last year goes down, it's like, oh, and they take down the defending champs and da 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 da. So it's the same thing.
And with college basketball, you also see the thing of like programs just have that notoriety where teams want to beat them, even if they're not the number one seed. Like on the men's side, you see it for sure with Kentucky. On the women's side, for sure, you see it with UConn, where it's like people are gunning for them. People want to knock them out, even though neither team is a one seed.
Yeah, of course. I mean, that's how it is. UConn has been so good for so long. It's crazy that it's crazy to people that they're not a one seed, but clearly you saw their season, like due to injuries, they haven't performed as well as they probably wanted to get the one seed. But it's still UConn. At the end of the day, like UConn, they have however many. I believe we got 11 national championships. Like we're always at the top. Like Gino, one of the best coaches ever. Of course, you want to beat them. Like no matter if they're the one seed or they barely make the tournament, like people still want to beat UConn. So I get it.
And it's weird because it is funny though. Like people feel that way, especially in college basketball. People feel that way about certain programs and other programs that are really, really good. People are kind of like, well, we're not going to get the same notoriety from the media if we beat them. So we just want to avoid this program. Like on the women's side, I felt like Baylor was that program where people were just like, well, we don't want to play them because they play you really hard. And then if you beat them, nobody really talks about it like that. Or Louisville's kind of a program like that too.
Yeah. A lot of teams, well, I am biased, but women's basketball media is like literally UConn, South Carolina, and now Iowa. Iowa definitely right up there. But
and now and you saw how excited that team was to play Iowa.
Yeah, and that was, I mean, it was what Creighton and Iowa. They're both Iowa schools. I think Creighton's in Iowa or somewhere over there.
Indiana, somewhere like that. Yeah.
Yeah, whatever. But yes, I mean, it's like when you're playing teams that you always see in the media, I think it's an extra like motivation because it's like you keep talking about these same teams, but like, what's up? We beat them. Now what? I mean, that's how it always has been. I mean, in college, I lost 10 games, which is a lot for UConn, right? Like I lost 5 games my freshman year. And when every time we lost, it was just like a huge deal. Like, oh, down goes UConn. Or if UConn doesn't win a national championship, it's like, oh, they haven't won in 5 years, which is crazy because nobody's saying that on the men's side. So that's a whole nother argument. We're not talking about UConn's greatness, but
let's circle back to that because there's an interesting parallel. Do you think that it's going to be a hard thing for the Lakers that they had that media treatment? Like, do you think that will actually wear on them? Because if you compare the Bucks or even the Nets, like the other teams that had high expectations that the media is given a pass to, even the Warriors, it's like when the Warriors had their losing streak, it was still a bit of a footnote. And it was like, guys are hurt. If guys, blah, blah, blah. But with the Lakers, every time they lost, it led First Take and led all these shows. Does that get in people's heads? Like, how does a team overcome that? And does it make everything a higher degree of difficulty?
I think it just depends on who's used to it. I mean, LeBron is used to it. Anyone that's played with him multiple years is going to be used to it. But for players that are new to this, it might get in their head. Like, I feel like it got in Westbrook's head a little bit, but I feel like his situation is a little different because if he would have been scoring more or shooting a high percentage, I don't think he would have got as much flack and attention on them losing. But honestly, they probably wouldn't have been losing as much. So I think it just depends on who gets used to it and whatnot. But like LeBron, he's the leader of their team. He's been through this ever. How long he been in the league? 19 years, almost 20, 18, whatever. Like he's been
in the league
this
since Avril Lavigne was at the top of the pop charts.
Yeah, basically. But like I think he's used to this. I think he has a good handle on it. I feel like he's gonna try his best to control the narrative as much as he can. But obviously he knows like winning games is the ultimate. Like that's how you shut everyone up. So I feel like that's what he's gonna focus on, and I feel like he's gonna try to keep his team together and not let the media take over things. I mean, it's tough. So media is everywhere. Like your notification on your phone every 2 minutes, so it's hard to avoid it. But I mean, he's been doing this for 19 years, so I think
the good thing is every round the Lakers make it through, if they make it through a few rounds, the story will change drastically. And I think that'll be really good for this team, is that if they have to play an elite team like the Suns or even a team like the Grizzlies in the Western Conference Finals, by that point, the media will have a much more generous story that they're putting out there in terms of the whole thing, which I think will be, which I think will actually make it easier. Because the reason I empathize so much with Russell Westbrook is like, he's exactly the kind of guy where he can't shrug off the negativity, which is kind of why it was lucky for him that he was in a situation like Oklahoma City for so long, where he didn't have just negativity. I mean, early in his career, he was like the number one target for Skip Bayless. Like Skip would go, "Oh, Durant's the best, Westbrook's the worst." Like when they were both 22, he was already decided. And I think that as it's kind of like with Matthew Stafford in football, it's like as there is less negativity being put on his shoulders, it'll make things even a little bit easier.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, he's such a passionate player. I feel like he's an emotional player. Like he plays with his heart on his sleeve. I feel like that's just part of the game. So if you're very emotional, like he plays with so much passion, if you keep hearing, negative, it's gonna affect you. But he's been playing better the last couple of games. I saw on Twitter that he was, at 20-some points, was shooting around like 40 to 50% from the field, which is better than what he had been doing. So I feel like maybe he's trying to shake it off. And then once he starts playing better, less negative feedback, and then I feel like it'll be a positive cycle, hopefully. I need that going into the end of the season for my Lakers.
Speaking of passionate players, one of the best players in your league, Brittany Griner, in Russia, in a Russian prison as I guess like a prisoner of war, basically. So just real quick, let's end with, if you want to give a message to her or just about her, and we can end it there.
Yeah, it's a tough situation. Obviously, praying for her. Hope that she's well. I hope that she can come back, sooner than later. I saw that they pushed her some date back to like May, which is really, really sad. But, we're praying for her with her, praying for her safety and safe return. And I'm praying for her family as well. I know her wife is probably having a really hard time. It's just a sad situation, and hoping that it kind of ends soon and that she'll be back in America where she's, safe and just kind of out of everything.
Okay, great. Thank you, Kiah. I know it's a tough way to end it, but
it's okay.
Yeah, well, that's well. Thanks everybody who listened to this week's podcast, and we'll see you again next week.
Yep, go Lakers! Hey guys, thanks for watching. Click over here to check out the latest episode, and click up here to subscribe. I feel like that's good enough. I feel like it's so. Well, yeah, because it was easier once I had to watch you do it. Watch you fuck up a few times, and I was like, all right, bet I can do it now. Okay.